Welcome back to Real Talk with Kietta. We're sitting down here with Siohvaughn Wade, the ex-wife of NBA player Dewayne Wade, and Siohvaughn's mother, Mrs. Funches. Now, a question that I wanted to ask you was, I asked you earlier before the break, have you ever reached out to Dewayne to discuss what's going on and where did this go wrong? Has he ever reached out to you?
Yes, he has, through subpoenas, depositions, having people to forge my signature, committed forgery, and the judge stood there and said he knew it, and they did nothing about it. So through the courts and all that mess, yes, he drugged me into that. That's how he reached out to me.
Siohvaughn, how do you feel about this? I mean, how do you feel about the treatment of your mother and the same woman that reached out to Dewayne and cuddled him in his time of need when he didn't have nowhere to go? How do you feel about the treatment of your mother?
Well, I have felt very hurt because I know that it hurts her. And I know, the time that he came into her life, what was happening in her mourning my sister, having died. And so I know that the relationship was very special. And for me to see their relationship broken and torn like that, for me to see him do things, depositions or what have you, to her, I'm not looking at it like then a wife or an ex-wife. I'm looking at it more so like, wow, that's our mom. It's like, what is he doing? He's hurting her.
Do you feel like, do you think maybe he felt as though that you was taking sides with Siohvaughn? I mean, did you?
Throughout the whole time that they were dating and even when they got married, I told both of them when they did something wrong. And I told both of them when they did something right. And I've always told both of them I'm not on either one of their sides. I'm on God's side. Okay. So whoever's wrong, you're wrong.
So in times that Siohvaughn was wrong, as they was dating or when they was married, you would actually tell Siohvaughn when she was wrong as well as tell him when he was wrong.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And you know how kids are, get mad, you take it up for them. Mm-hmm. Well, they would just both have to be mad at me because I didn't care what neither one of them thought. I was on the side of God. Whoever was wrong and whoever was right, and I told them about it.
And so you all obviously continued to have a dialogue after you all were married, and then when the children were born. When did it break down?
When did it break down? It broke down when Dewayne had started doing things that was not what a husband or a father should have been doing. And I did say something back then. Mm-hmm.
And his
like
reaction?
I said was, well, by then he didn't need to listen to anyone.
He had changed?
Yes.
Mrs. Funches? In ways like?
Well, let me put it to you this way. The love of money, it is the root to all evil. Mm-hmm. When people start worshiping money and thinking that it makes people gods, that's it. You can't tell anyone anything.
So you're saying that once Dewayne became an NBA player, his whole attitude changed?
Not long afterwards.
Money, to me, when people say money changes people, well, first of all, money has to change you because you can't do the same things.
Right.
However, when you are a person that's really a deep-rooted person, a good person, money just reveals who you really are because you'll still be that good, giving, loving person. It doesn't necessarily have to make you a bad person. I think that attribute had to be within you before. That's just my personal opinion about it. And I'm just wondering, throughout the times he was living with you, there was nothing that you remotely even saw within Dewayne that could have presented itself and you just maybe overlooked it? Or
I saw the angry side of him, but when you say money, he didn't have any.
Exactly.
I paid him allowance money just to clean around the house so that he would have show money. I did that for my daughter, even some of his brothers and cousins. Same thing, they had a maximum, $200 to do. If it took 10 hours to do it or if it took a week.
So you saw
the $200 was to keep them from out of the streets in the summer, doing something to get money that was not legal. So, I mean, what did he have?
You say you saw an angry side of him. Can you tell me about some examples of that?
Oh, one time he punched a hole in my door. you know, and I know a lot of things was going on at that house, you know, a lot of things that was not good things that no child should endure.
Siohvaughn, let me ask you this. You all came from obviously a well-rooted, loved home. You and Dewayne get married. You all high school sweethearts. You all go from, did you have a job? Were you making millions back then? I'm just wondering.
Not millions, no.
Okay, and Dewayne was homeless, pretty much living with you. Okay, you all went from having no money to millions of dollars.
Overnight.
How did that truly affect you?
I was scared. You know, we were in college together at Marquette, and I remember when the speculation and all the talk began about possibly he could go to the NBA. And I had sat him down and I said, I'm hearing this, and I asked him to explain to me, you know, what was going on and what is the likelihood of that happening. And when he told me that he could actually go a year ahead of time, which was 2002, I asked him not to. And, you know, he explained to me about financially he felt we'd be better off if he did. But I was telling him, I think that, you know, as far as our family is concerned, it was Zaire just then. And me and him, I said, I think that we need to make sure that our foundation is strong, because I've never at that point had heard anything positive about families in that particular lifestyle. And I said, I just think we need to, you know, be married. Let's work on that. Let's build this. Let's make this stronger and focus on our family before we go into something like that. So I had my doubts, you know, going in, and I had my fear, and I can't say that I didn't have reason, you know, to be afraid of it failing, because for me, you know, the family was more important than the fortune.
How did you feel, Ms. Funches, when you heard about he could possibly go to the NBA in 2002? Did you actually encourage him to do this?
No, I kind of discouraged it also, because I felt like he was only in his second year of college, and if he waited one more year, at least he would have 3 years under his belt, and it would be easier to graduate and have a degree.
Well, so once he was drafted, you all moved right to Miami?
No, not right away. We spent that first summer actually in a condo downtown in Chicago. And then once fall came, then we moved to Miami.
Ms. Funches, did you ever expect for Dewayne to do anything for you once he became an NBA superstar?
No. Matter of fact, I told him. The speculation was he was going to buy me a house because I was nice to him. And I told him to put everybody at ease. He's not buying me a house, and neither should he buy anybody else a house. He should buy a house for his wife and his son and learn how to pay his own bills. Don't even go there. You know, I have a house. I have a job. And even once, Shaquille O'Neal asked that same question, and I told him, no, Dewayne is not going to. I'm not going to retire, and for him, because I'm going to keep my job. And you know, that's the way it went.
Well, Siohvaughn, once you became an official NBA wife, you're down in Miami. We all know how Miami nightlife is. I'm just being honest with you. Miami's a different place. What was it like for you to be in a different atmosphere? I mean, you're from Chicago, born and raised. Now you're down in Miami. You all are multimillionaires, living in $1 million houses, driving fancy cars. Were you happy?
It all depends on which day you ask me. I was happy because it was a dream of his to go to the NBA. And so his dreams somehow became even my own. So I was very happy because he was happy. I saw him fulfill his dream. I saw him, you know, set a goal and do it, and I was proud of him. I was happy for him. But when I realized that, you know, we had gotten this fortune and it was going to be in exchange for our faith and our family, I was destroyed.
When did everything start changing?
I would say the first time it started to get really bad was the summer right after he'd been drafted. That summer following the draft, I was over the phone with him, and he had said something to me very, very angrily, and I was telling him about the way he was speaking to me, you know, to stop being disrespectful and things like that. And he told me, do you want to go and live in your mother's house? Because that's what's going to happen. You're going to end up back living in your mother's house in Robbins.
Well, he used to live there.
Yes, I was very shocked, but the threat was like, do you want me to, somehow cast you out of our house and put you in a position where you're back living in Robbins in that house? And it was a very, very awful feeling. And I would say that we stayed together, yes, but from there, now that I look back and I can reflect on it, I would say from that moment, it went downhill.
As an NBA wife, are you all expected to pretty much allow your husbands to cheat and just don't say anything?
Well, first of all, I want to say, not now. I'm not an NBA wife. I'm not an ex-wife. I'm not a basketball wife. Thank God, I finally know who I am and I have my own identity. But at that time, I certainly was married to him and the game and the lifestyle. And I do think that that's the expectation. Absolutely, you're seen, but you're not heard. And it's so many other women, so many other wives that I've had the opportunity and been fortunate enough to console, and they have consoled me. And yes.
So you would think, though, just saying, as an outside person looking in, you would think that when these basketball wives are married to these, these men who make millions of dollars, what other reason could they not be happy? You would think that would be the life. Why did you have to console these women? What were they so hurt and upset about?
Well, it all depends. I mean, there were women who were physically abused, emotionally abused, financially abused. There were women who had, at the same time that they were pregnant, their husband had gotten another woman pregnant. There was a lot of adultery going on, and it was just awful. It was awful. If you name it, it was happening. Was that new to you, though? I mean, when you and Dewayne was in high school and going through college, you never had really issues of him cheating on you or dealing with other women? I had an issue in college, yes. Yes, we did.
So did you think once you got married that issue was going to change?
No, I didn't think it was so much marriage that we're doing. We were actually married at that time that happened. But I was hoping after we got past that, and resolved that issue, that we wouldn't have to revisit it.
And when you got down to Miami, I guess it's obvious that it was revisited. How did you address issues of infidelity with Dewayne, or was he having affairs in Miami?
Yes, I was hurt. I was angry, of course, but I would say more than even being hurt and angry, I was very, very disappointed, because Dewayne had never been just my husband. He had been first my very best friend. So it wasn't just like somebody cheating on somebody or somebody wronging someone. It was the kind of hurt that comes when a best friend turns on the other one.
Ms. Funches, were you there when, I know you were there, but how were you there for both Dewayne and Siohvaughn when everything just started becoming chaotic in Miami? Who would listen to you? Who would not listen to you? Who were you trying to talk to? What did you do? Did you try to intervene?
Again, like I said, I was only on one side, and that was God's side. So whatever was wrong that I saw was wrong, I told him. It's a shame if someone sees something and don't say something. So I said what I had to say when it needed to be said.
Were you lonely, Siohvaughn, in Miami?
Absolutely. I absolutely was. I remember thinking, I lived in a $4 million house, fully furnished with loneliness, abuse, betrayal, sadness. It was hard. It was the most difficult time probably in my life.
Did you ever feel as though the betrayal of your ex-best friend, your ex-husband, would escalate to this point that we are today, that you all are in today?
No, I never would have imagined that it would have gotten this far. I have seen sides of him. Things have come out of his heart that somebody couldn't have paid me to believe were in there, or that he would do, or that he would say. I mean, I have been in shock. I have literally been in shock. There's been times when I have even, gotten upset with people and said to them, before they tell me something like that, they better make sure that it's the truth. Because again, it was my very best friend, but unfortunately, it has been very real also.
So you saw the changes right before your eyes?
I absolutely did. I watched them happen, and I tried to stop it from happening. I literally can say I tried to save him from himself, who I saw him becoming. I tried to sit down with him. I tried to reason with him. I reached out to Coach Riley. I reached out to Coach Riley's wife. I reached out to other wives married to NBA players and sought their advice when I noticed it was happening, that he was changing and changing for the worse. There's nothing wrong with change. Mm-hmm. But changing for the worse is bad. And I saw him in exchange for money and fame selling his soul. I saw him taking, his character and exchanging it for yet another endorsement or yet another fan. And that was the problem.
Now I'm going to ask you this and we're going to go to break. But can you honestly say that at one point in time, maybe you saw yourself changing a little bit too?
Oh, absolutely. I went through it. I did. Mm-hmm. I think that everything, when I first got to Miami and I was able to observe other families, mm-hmm. other players, other women who were married to players, it was almost like a mental checklist. And I would say, those are things I never want to do. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to be that kind of wife. I'm never going to do those sorts of things. Because I saw some women angry. I saw them and I saw some women sad. And I watch women go from sad to getting even. And I was saying I wouldn't be that type of woman, Mm-hmm. But it seems like almost everything I said I would never do, I ended up doing it. There's a few things I missed on the checklist, but my change and my transformation, my wake-up call, my realization that this is not right, and I have to get back to who I am and be true to myself, regardless of what the bank statement says. Mm-hmm. It just came very soon. It didn't take me long to wake up.
Well, I'm glad that you did wake up. And I'm just going to tell you seriously, I'm just asking you because I just want to know out of curiosity. Is he still in there?
Yes, he is. In spite of him trying to have me arrested, and in spite of him suing me, and in spite of people forging my signatures, that's what you do to your real child. You don't disinherit them when they do something bad.
You just discipline them.
You discipline them.
Now that, Ms. Funches, is what I call unconditional love. We'll be right back with more Real Talk with Kietta.
Real talk, hey, something that we bring.